What would you tell students that are thinking about starting to prepare for the LSAT, or maybe they're not even sure if they want to be a lawyer? What are some things early on in, let's say, their college career while they're thinking about this as a potential path that you would give them?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with not being sure whether you want to be a lawyer. Talk to actual lawyers. That is number one. Do informational interviews. Just reach out to a bunch of folks, maybe on LinkedIn or other social media. You have to reach out to a lot of them, but some folks will be willing to chat for 10, 15 minutes and tell you a bit more about what their life is like. So figure out maybe different areas of the law that interest you, but have those discussions. A lot of lawyers will tell you, just don't go to law school, period, because a lot of lawyers work really hard and aren't always happy. And so make sure that there is an area of law that you're interested in, that you're passionate about, that you really want to do, and that you know what it's actually like, not just TV or movie portrayals of the law, which could be a bit more exciting sometimes. A lot of this work is navigating difficult, dense text, just like the LSAT. And so in a way, studying for the LSAT can help you clarify, can you own this material? Can you learn to appreciate it in spite of and also because of its complexity? There's a certain magic to it once you can get it. It's obviously more fun if you get it than if you don't, but you can, through just taking it on the mindset of what can I appreciate about this, you can learn to enjoy it and respect it for what it is. Same is true of the law, same is true of contracts. It's tough, but there is something special about it. For the LSAT specifically, I would say block off some time to make it happen. Maybe you're taking a lighter course load one semester or over the summer if you're still in college. A lot of folks will want to put in only 2 to 3 months when it really takes, in my view, 5 to 6 months to reach your fullest potential on the exam. These exams are often tougher than we expect at first glance. It's going to be harder than the SAT. It's going to be harder than high school exams or even college classes in a lot of cases, but it's important and it's worth investing the time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that on the timeline aspect. That's actually very similar to MCAT. A lot of students will study for about 3 months. I see the best results for students that can go for 6 months. On top of that, in regards to what you were saying with reaching out to lawyers, for students applying to medical school, one of the things we try to encourage is having them actually shadow physicians and being able to be with them for a day or a week at a time and see what the day-to-day life is like, because otherwise you're really not going to have a good understanding of the field. And that's actually one of the things admissions committees for medical schools look at. For law school, is there any type of apprenticeship or shadowing, even if it's just for a day or two, that students ever do to really get actual experience seeing what it's like to be a lawyer?
That would be awesome if that happened in the pre-law space. I don't think it's quite as common, or it's not the norm in the pre-law versus pre-med. But if you develop relationships with those attorneys through those informational interviews, hey, you could always ask. It wouldn't hurt to try. Having an internship or working as a paralegal can be nice to get exposure. Admissions committees do like to see some exposure to the world of law. Again, in contrast to the media portrayals, it's not a must-have, but it is a nice-to-have. But any exposure you can get, even if you were able to say, I've done a dozen informational interviews, that would be huge. It requires some initiative, but it would give you a much better understanding of what law is actually like.
Got it. And then another thing I picked up on you said about seeing the different specialties within law or different areas is actually interesting because, and this is something I tell students all the time, while you need to love medicine as a whole, rotate in different subspecialties to get a feel for what it's like, because being a dermatologist outpatient is not the same as being an inpatient hospitalist. And so, or an emergency medicine doctor, or whatever it is. And so being able to find something that you like and see what your career might look like in the future is something that's important. And I've actually started working with lawyers more recently for my own company because I've needed to bring them aboard. And it's interesting to see how I'm getting passed from one lawyer to the next in regards to, oh, I don't really do labor law, or I don't really do IP. And so each person has their own specialty that they seem more passionate about. And so that's something that's interesting that I didn't really realize was within the law community as well. So
there are dozens of different specialties within the law. I couldn't even name them all. I mean, there's real estate, there's tax, there's labor, as you said, there's criminal, there's medical malpractice. There's all different sorts of areas that are completely different from each other. And good news is you can major in anything and go to law school. You don't have to be an expert in that area beforehand. And you could hate tax law, that's fine. You never have to touch it aside from maybe one class in law school.
Exactly.
You can ultimately focus in whatever you want.